Hello, dear friend. Welcome back to English Talks with Avie. Relax, listen, and improve your English.
Hello, I am Emma.
And I am Daniel.
Daniel, it is so good to see you. How has your week been?
My week has been very busy, but I am doing wonderfully, thank you. I was looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Today, we have a topic that can change how we look at our goals.
Oh, that sounds very exciting, Emma. What is the topic of our conversation today?
Today, we are talking about why doing something is always much easier than just thinking about it. We are talking about the power of just starting.
Wow, that is a beautiful topic. I think everyone has something in their life that they want to do, but they spend months or years just thinking and planning.
Yes, exactly. We spend so much time overthinking, worrying, and waiting for the perfect moment to arrive, but the perfect moment never actually comes.
I agree. We feel like we're working on our goals when we think about them, but in reality, we're just standing in the same place.
Yes. Daniel, to start our conversation today, I want to tell you about a big secret from my past. It is about a fear that controlled me for 4 whole years.
Oh, a big secret. Please tell me, Emma. What were you afraid of for 4 years?
Well, when I was 23 years old, all of my friends at university were learning how to drive cars. They were getting their driver's licenses and buying cars.
That is great. Did you start taking lessons with them too?
No, Daniel, I didn't. I was terrified of driving. Every time I thought about sitting behind a steering wheel, my stomach felt sick.
Really? What exactly were you afraid of? Why did driving seem so scary to you?
I kept putting it off because I was worried. The traffic in the city was too complex. I looked at the big roads, the fast buses, and the many traffic lights, and I thought, no, I cannot do this.
So you were worried about making a mistake on the busy roads?
Yes, I was incredibly worried. I thought, I will panic in the middle of a big street, and all the other cars will honk their horns at me, or I will cause a bad accident.
That sounds like a scary story inside your head, Emma.
Yes, it was a terrible story. And because of that story, I also told myself another lie. I told myself, it is too late for me now. I'm too old to learn a new skill like driving.
But 23 is still so young.
I know that now, Daniel, but back then I really believed it. So I kept putting it off year after year. I took the bus everywhere. I walked in the heavy rain. I asked my friends for rides. I wasted so much time and energy just avoiding cars.
Wow, 4 years is a long time to carry that weight around with you. What changed when you finally turned 27?
Well, when I turned 27, I got a new job. This new job was in a small town outside the city. There were no direct buses or trains to get there.
Ah, so you had no choice. You needed a car to get to your new job.
Exactly. I was forced to face my fear. I called a local driving school and booked my very first lesson for the following Monday morning. I remember I was so stressed on Sunday night.
Oh, poor Emma. You must have been so anxious on the morning of that first lesson. How did it go when you met the driving teacher?
It was so surprising. The teacher was a calm, older man named Brian. He didn't take me to a complex road. He took me to an empty parking lot behind a school.
That sounds like a safe and quiet place to start.
Yes. For the first hour, I only practiced moving the car forward very slowly and turning the wheel left and right. There were no other cars, no fast buses, and no stress at all.
And how did you feel after that first hour with Brian?
Once I started, I realized that driving was not a superpower. It was just a simple skill that you can learn step by step.
Wow, so the reality was completely different from the scary monster in your head.
Completely different. I took 2 lessons every week. By week 3, I was driving on the regular roads with other cars. I didn't panic, I didn't cause an accident, and nobody honked their horn at me.
Week 3, that is so fast. That means you learned how to drive safely in just 21 days.
Yes, Daniel. In just 3 weeks, I could drive myself anywhere. And I remember sitting in my car alone one afternoon, looking at the steering wheel and feeling so angry with myself.
Why were you angry, Emma?
I was angry because I thought about it all that time. I thought I wasted 4 years being afraid of something that I could have learned to do in just 3 weeks.
That is a powerful realization, Emma. 4 years of heavy worry versus 3 weeks of actual doing.
Yes, thinking about it was 1,000 times harder and more painful than the actual doing of it. The doing was simple, but the thinking was a heavy torture.
That is a great example of our topic today, Emma. It shows that our imagination can create things that are simply not real.
Yes, exactly. But Daniel, I know you have a similar story about something you kept putting off for a long time too, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. It is about my podcast hesitation. This happened a couple of years ago, before we started this channel together. I wanted to start a personal audio podcast to talk about books and daily motivation.
I remember you talking about that idea for a very long time, Daniel. How long did you prepare for it?
Emma, I spent 6 whole months just preparing. And when I say preparing, I mean I was doing everything except actually recording my voice.
What kind of things were you doing during those 6 months?
Oh, I read hundreds of articles online about how to choose the perfect microphone. I watched hours of video reviews about audio software. I filled a giant notebook with lots of episode ideas, titles, and descriptions.
It sounds like you were a busy student of podcasting.
Yes, I looked very professional. I even bought an expensive microphone from an online shop and placed it carefully on my desk. It sat there looking beautiful and professional.
But did you press the record button?
No, Emma, never. For 6 months, I never recorded a single word.
Oh no.
I would sit at my desk, look at the microphone, open my notebook, and think, no, my voice sounds strange today, or I need to read one more article about sound quality first.
Why were you waiting? What was the true reason for the delay?
I was worried that my English would not be clear enough, or that people would listen to my episode and think, this is boring, or this sounds terrible. I wanted the first episode to be 100% perfect.
Ah, the trap of perfection again. We want to be perfect before we even begin.
Exactly. I thought that by reading more articles and planning more, I was making progress. But in reality, my beautiful microphone was just getting covered with dust.
So how did you finally break that 6-month cycle of waiting and overthinking?
Well, on a rainy Tuesday, I came home from work feeling very tired of my own excuses. I looked at the microphone and thought, Daniel, you are just using preparation as an excuse to run away from your fear.
That is a very honest and harsh thought to have about yourself.
Yes, but I needed to hear it. So without opening my notebook or reading any notes, I turned on the computer, opened the simple audio software, and pressed the big red record button.
Wow, you just pressed it immediately? Did you give a perfect speech?
Not at all, Emma. It was a complete and absolute mess. I stammered, I forgot what I wanted to say next, I made strange noises, and I dropped my pen on the floor in the middle of the recording.
That sounds like a real first recording. How long did you talk for?
I talked for about 10 minutes. When I finished, I didn't edit it at all. I knew that if I started editing it, I would overthink it and delete the file.
So what did you do with that messy 10-minute audio file?
I just closed my eyes, clicked the upload button, and published it online. I felt a huge wave of fear, but I did it anyway.
And what happened after you published that messy first episode? Did the world end?
No, the world did not end at all, Emma. Actually, something wonderful happened.
Oh, what was it?
3 people listened to it on the first day, and one of them left a comment that said, "Great job. Thank you for sharing your thoughts."
Wow, that must have felt amazing after 6 months of waiting.
It felt incredibly freeing, Emma. Once I started, I realized that making a podcast was not about being a perfect host. It was just about sharing an honest conversation. My second episode was a little bit better, and my third was even better.
That is a beautiful story, Daniel. It shows that action gives us clarity, while waiting just gives us doubt. If you had waited until you were a perfect host, you would still be sitting at your desk today looking at a dusty microphone.
Yes, exactly. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the step that actually matters.
This reminds me of an old story that I love to read when I feel stuck. It is the story of the two monks.
Oh, I love stories, Emma. Please share the story of the two monks with us and our listener friends.
Of course. Long ago, in a quiet valley, there lived two Buddhist monks. One of the monks was very rich, and the other monk was very poor. Both of them had a big dream. They both wanted to go on a long journey to the holy mountains in the South Sea to pray.
That sounds like a long and difficult journey. Did they leave together?
No, they didn't. One morning, the poor monk told the rich monk about his plan to leave. He said, "I am ready to begin my journey to the South Sea. I am leaving tomorrow."
And what did the rich monk say to him? Was he ready to go too?
The rich monk looked at the poor monk and laughed. He said, "Are you crazy? The journey to the South Sea is thousands of miles long. It has dangerous rivers, high mountains, and wild animals. How can you go there with nothing?"
That sounds like a reasonable question. What did the poor monk have with him for the trip?
The poor monk smiled and held up two simple items. He said, "I only need a water bottle and a rice bowl. One bottle of water is enough for my thirst, and one bowl is enough to collect food when people are kind to me. That is all I need to begin."
Wow, that is a simple plan for a 1,000-mile journey. What was the rich monk's plan instead?
The rich monk shook his head and said, "That is foolish. I am much smarter than you. I am currently preparing for my journey. I am renting a large, strong boat. I am buying a lot of dried meat, warm clothes, and hiring strong workers to protect me. I will leave next year when everything is ready."
So the poor monk left alone with just his bottle and his bowl?
Yes, the poor monk started walking the next morning. He climbed the high mountains, he swam across the wide rivers, and he slept under the stars. Whenever he was hungry, he held out his bowl for a little bit of rice.
And what was the rich monk doing during all this time back in the valley?
The rich monk was still in his temple, Daniel. He was checking the weather charts. He was arguing with the boat makers about the size of the sails. He was buying more and more supplies. He spent the whole year preparing.
He was very busy preparing, but he was still in the exact same place.
Yes. Then, a year later, the rich monk was sitting outside his temple looking at his large, half-finished boat. Suddenly, he saw a figure walking down the mountain road. It was the poor monk.
No way. The poor monk had already returned?
Yes. The poor monk walked up to the rich monk, looking tired but very happy and peaceful. He said, "Hello, I have returned from the holy mountains in the South Sea. It was a long and beautiful journey, and I prayed for both of us."
And what did the rich monk do when he heard that?
The rich monk was completely speechless, Daniel. He looked at his big lists, his expensive supplies, and his unfinished boat. He realized that the poor monk had completed the entire journey while he was still preparing to take the very first step.
That is an absolute masterpiece of the story. It tells us that sometimes preparing is just a comfortable way of not going anywhere at all.
Sometimes preparing is just a comfortable way of not going. That is so true.
We use organizing, planning, and buying things as an excuse to delay the actual action. It makes us feel like we are doing something, but it is just a trap to avoid fear.
Exactly, Daniel. The rich monk thought he was being wise and safe, but his preparation became a trap that kept him stuck in the valley. The poor monk knew that the only way to arrive was to start walking.
That brings us directly back to our key message for today's episode, Emma. The hardest part of anything is not doing it. It is deciding to begin.
Yes, deciding to begin is the true battle. Once you take that first step, you can continue to move forward naturally.
This happens so often with people who are learning a second language, too, like our listener friends who are learning English.
Yes, some learners might spend months searching for the perfect textbook or the perfect school.
Exactly, they prepare a lot, but if they never actually start to practice or really speak to other people, they are like the rich monk with his half-finished boat.
That is a perfect connection, Daniel. Some people keep putting it off because they say, "I'm not ready yet. I need to know 2,000 words before I can start speaking."
But you don't need 2,000 words to start speaking. You can start speaking with just a few words and a simple smile.
Yes, once you start speaking, you realize that people are generally very kind and helpful. They don't care if your grammar is imperfect. They just want to connect with you.
Exactly. Also, doing it lets us know how we can learn even better.
Yes, Daniel, it's better to be a poor monk who speaks broken English than a rich monk who knows all the grammar rules but stays silent.
I love that image, Emma. Let's all choose to be poor monks on this English learning journey.
Definitely, Daniel. Now, should we summarize our main takeaways from today's episode?
Sure. First, based on Emma's driving story, we should not waste many years being afraid of something that we can easily learn once we actually start doing it.
Second, Daniel's podcasting journey. Don't let your preparation hide your fear of making mistakes. A messy start is always better than a perfect delay.
And third, remember the story of the two monks. You don't need a large, expensive boat to begin your journey. You just need your simple bowl, your water bottle, and the decision to take the first step.
I feel so much more inspired to start my next project after our chat today.
Me too, Emma. Talking with you helps me see that action is the best medicine for any kind of worry in our lives.
As we wrap up our conversation today, I would like to invite our listener friend to think about your own life. Is there a goal or hobby that you have been wanting to start for a long time?
Have you been keeping it inside your head, making long lists or reading articles because you are worried you are not ready yet?
It is completely okay if you have. Please don't feel guilty or angry with yourself. We have all been like the rich monk at some point in our lives.
But remember that the scary stories inside your head are almost always bigger than the reality of just doing the task.
You don't need a perfect time. You don't need a lot of supplies or full confidence.
You just need the decision to begin now.
We are so proud of you for spending your time with us today, listening to our slow English conversation.
If our talk today brought a little bit of motivation or value to your day, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.
We also can't wait to read your thoughts and your stories in our comments section below.
Let's do a little bit of practical practice together in the comments.
Yes, please leave a short comment using simple English words. Use our phrases of the day to tell us about something you want to start.
For example, you could write, "I kept putting off learning how to cook, but once I started, I realized it was very simple."
Or simply write, "Tonight I'm going to start reading my first English book for 2 minutes."
Writing down your action step can give you the confidence to actually start doing it.
And please remember, growth happens outside the comfort zone.
Yes, and I'm definitely going to remember the poor monk every time I start a new project from now on. Just a bottle and a bowl are enough.
That is the spirit, Daniel. No more buying extra microphones before you record your voice.
Promise, Emma. Take wonderful care of your time and your first steps, friends. See you in our next episode.
This is Emma.
And this is Daniel.
Just press record on your own goals today, everyone. You are capable of amazing things.
Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more English Talks with Avie. You can explore more videos here. Thanks.